My name is Alyssa, and I'm an addict, an achievement addict. It's not a joke. Like any addiction, high achievement can be seriously dangerous. And I know this firsthand. Looking back, it's easy to understand why I got hooked. I grew up being reminded of my potential every day. High expectation schools in Long Island, New York, they grew me for an Ivy League degree. And then I climbed every rung on the corporate ladder until I reached the C-suite. And there I ran out of achievement bells to ring. So I became an entrepreneur, started a few businesses of my own, wrote 7 best-selling books, and won several awards as a confidence expert. So now with an always packed calendar, I am so grateful for the work because it's truly meaningful and it makes a difference for so many people. But I do admit that I get a high achiever high with each and every attagirl. Let's be clear though, I am not a perfectionist. I am a high achiever, and there's a big difference. You see, I get a nice dose of dopamine just by crossing things off my to-do list. And since I'm compulsively always adding more to the list, I self-supply myself so that I can always get a fix. I'm always polished, coiffed, caffeinated, prepared, and yes, on time. And it doesn't matter if I'm meeting a client, a friend, or just swinging by the supermarket. I tend to over-rehearse every presentation and overthink even casual conversations. And why? Well, it's because I'm always in it to win it. On the pickleball court, social media, sales calls, it doesn't matter, everything. My sister once, in fact, moved away from me on the airplane because I was so intensely playing the in-flight trivia game and trying to beat some stranger in 13D. It sounds nuts? Yeah, but I know I'm not alone. Maybe you're also in the High Achievers Club. Welcome in. You see, my name, Alyssa, literally begins and ends with type A, which makes me not just the president, but a lifetime member. So I know when I say that bringing your A game isn't always the best, I know it sounds totally hypocritical, but I promise you, using your B game can make you and everyone you care about better. For starters, striving to be constantly high achieving, it is so exhausting. And in fact, it's wasteful. It takes a ton of time and energy just to show up, and let alone try to do it with your best self. The self-imposed pressure to always be awesome is stressful, and it uses up limited cognitive cycles that we all have that we could be using for much more productive things, like learning, like leading, maybe even doing some more loving. High achievers have many unrealistic and unfair goals, and we tend to alienate and offend others who feel that they don't measure up. And let's be honest, us high achievers, we're very needy. We crave confirmation that we did something well. And even when we're showered with praise, it takes just one negative or even a neutral comment to tear us down completely. Sadly, high achievers allow external validation to sculpt our self-worth. And criticism, it's confidence kryptonite. So yeah, no secret, right? High achievement is really all about confidence. We high achievers, we clearly fear failing, and will do anything to avoid the regret of doing or not doing something that we will later be told was wrong. The fear is rooted in something that's common to all people, though. It's just that high achievers even more desperately want to belong. We want to fit in, and the thought of being rejected is scarier than physical harm. In fact, I can't even imagine who came up with it, but it had to be a high achiever who coined no pain, no gain. Sure. Fears of failure, regret, rejection, these crush high achiever confidence, and it can happen in any situation and be done by anyone. In fact, a parent, a friend, a manager, a teacher, a teammate, even a stranger can crush high achiever confidence. And the harm may not be life-threatening, but it can be so traumatic that it negatively impacts high achiever self-belief and behavior forever. But I said before that high achievement can be dangerous, and I really meant it. 15 years ago, my then 7-year-old son, Zach, was diagnosed with a neurological condition called dystonia. Dystonia is essentially a disconnect between the brain and one or more parts of the body. And in Zach's case, his arms don't carry out his brain's instructions. So he can't do certain things like pick up a glass or shake someone's hand. Renowned neurologists told us that Zach could end up paralyzed. And when I asked about the causes and potential solutions, I could see in the doctor's eyes and in their body language, they clearly lacked confidence. With their high achievement medical degrees hanging right behind them, they couldn't admit to me that they just failed to know what to do. After 2 years of patiently parenting, while these experts prescribed and poked my son, they Googled and guessed what to do next. I knew I had to do something different. So I shamelessly dove into brain science. I was reading piles of dissertations, all kinds of medical and alternative treatment books. I then interviewed all sorts of doctors as well as dystonia patients from all over the world. And shockingly, this included professional athletes and musicians who had spent their lifetimes seeking high performance, only to have dystonia rob them of the ability to play at all. You see, the stress of their pursuits resulted in their brain and bodies essentially rebelling and becoming disconnected, just like my Zach's. The Olympic gymnast Simone Biles, her twisties are a type of dystonia. And it is likely that you personally already know or will know someone who suffers from some form of dystonia. It may be caused genetically like Zach's or from negative reactions to some medications. But more often, it's a result of stress. And this is why so many soldiers come home with dystonia. The Department of Defense is the largest research donor. Now, fortunately, most people won't be that afflicted, but consider if you have frequent head, back, knee, or neck aches. Maybe you suffer from recurring reflux, fidget, twitch, or otherwise just can't control nervous energy. These are all possible signs of an unhealthy need to achieve. So it turns out that your B game might save your relationships. It might even save your life. Your B game doesn't mean that B is less good. It doesn't imply slacking off or being indifferent. The B stands for giving your brain a break so it can clean out all that neural plaque and the pathway pollution that builds up every day. And that's what prevents us from thinking clearly. Now, it's scientifically proven that high performance brains require scheduled downtime for maintenance and refueling. And elite athletes do it. So can you. You take it from Zach. He learned how to use his B game to manage his dystonia so well that he now works part-time as a tennis pro while he goes to grad school. You know, the reality is this: our full potential doesn't happen if we're full on all the time. To be our best, we sometimes need to sub in our second best self. That's the one that we keep on the bench when the first string player isn't really required or just needs some recovery time. And just between us friends, your B game is probably really better than you think, probably as good as other people's. And you know what else? They're probably never going to notice because they're so focused on their own game. So high achievers, put some B time on your to-do list. You can achieve this by sleeping more, napping now and again, shopping, singing, or doing anything that you find fun. Me, I float. This past summer, I found that floating in my new pool helped me cope with the chaos of COVID. And paradoxically, it's the reason I'm here. At first, I needed to use lots of permissive self-talk to slow down my always busy brain. But then I found floating to be unusually therapeutic. Electronics don't do so well in the water, so it forced me to lay passively unplugged, which meant no digital distractions or even the ability to try and multi-process. I allow Mother Nature to decide my direction, and I enjoy her quiet company while my brain, in effect, reboots. And even after a short float, my overall productivity flourishes. I am calm and content. I can think clearly and more creatively. So I shared my newfound floating habit on one of my podcasts, and a listener contacted me to see if I would do a talk about it for her global tech organization. She noticed that the high achievement culture was causing her colleagues to be irritable and disengaged. She asked if I could give them all proof and permission to use their B games to feel and work better. Then she joked that the topic might actually make a great TED Talk. And yeah, my high achiever jumped all over that. But it was my B game that made this achievement possible.